So the incident in the shower, after you let the inmate know that you did not like what she was doing by telling her to stop, did she ever try that again?
No.
And that inmate's no longer, or you didn't disclose the name of that inmate, but you did tell the investigator that that inmate is no longer in jail with you, right?
She's no longer there. She left shortly after that.
Okay. As far as the arm twist incident from October of 2024, you said you reported that in February of 2025?
Yes.
Okay. And you wouldn't give the name, you said you wouldn't give the name of her to the investigator either, okay?
No.
But you do know that if you would give her name, that instead of you being separated from the pod, she could be separated from you and you could be back with the general population.
Yeah, but she's not the only one that could hurt me. That's why I wouldn't do it. She had a half a dozen girls that came up to me.
Was there ever any physical violence by her or anyone she's friends with after that October 24 incident?
No, that was it, that day.
And by being in solitary confinement, does it give you an opportunity to have a quieter space where you can prepare for trial?
I guess it would be a quiet space if I could get some sleep and I would be able to concentrate on what I'm supposed to do. Yes, that would be helpful.
Do you also get in-person visits with your attorney in jail?
I do.
Okay, and when that happens, are you in a room alone with him or her or both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And y'all are able to have conversations then that are private?
Yes.
For the sciatic nerve, in December of 2024, were you offered a Solumedrol, a steroid injection for that pain that you declined?
I am going to object to the use of the medical records by the state based on a prior objection.
Student, do you have an ability to show that these records were not a part of what was obtained by Investigator Newland that is still disputed?
No, these are part of what was obtained by Investigator Newland, but my understanding is that the defense would have opened the door to this by asking her about all of these times she was seen by medical staff and what basically was not done for her.
As to that, I will permit the witness to answer. You may answer, Ms. Adelson.
Could you ask me one more time?
Yes, ma'am. For the sciatic pain that radiates down your right leg, were you offered a Solumedrol, a steroid injection, and then after that a Medrol, so a steroid dose pack that you declined until you were able to speak with your physician?
No, I told her that in the past I had gotten a steroid injection in my spine, and she said, we don't do that. I could offer you, and it was a Medrol dose pack, I think.
A Solumedrol injection?
I can offer you that, but we don't do that. And having had sciatica twice in my lifetime, I know what's been done each time, and I know that worked. And so she said, we can't do that. We don't offer that. You would need to see a specialist for that.
Okay. I'm going to show you this page. I'm looking at the encounter from December 13th, 2024 at 3:22 p.m. What does it say? Offered patient a Solumedrol injection and then starting tomorrow a Medrol dose pack. Patient requested decline until she can speak with her physician.
I don't know what a Solumedrol injection, but she told me they don't give steroidal injections in the spine. She says we don't do that. And I don't recall her offering an injection. I do remember she said I could give you other medication. But I've been there. I've done that. I know what happens with sciatica, and I know what needs to be done. That's not going to be the answer.
For your arm and shoulder pain, isn't it true that you reported you had mild pain in your left arm and shoulder?
No, I heard that gentleman say that before. I couldn't believe it. I told her that I had severe burning pain down the outer part of my arm. I never used the word mild pain. So I don't know where they got that from, but that's not what I said.
Okay. I'm going to show you the encounter from February 3rd, 2025 at 2:29 p.m. Under musculoskeletal, does it say positive for left upper extremity limited ROM, range of motion, comma, mild pain.
That's what it says, but that's not what I said.
Okay.
In no way is that pain mild.
And so that's just what the doctor would have written down, but you're saying that's not what you told the doctor or nurse?
I did, had that been given to me and I read it and I had to sign it, I would say I never said this. But I'm telling you, I never said mild pain.
Okay.
It's shooting hot pain down my arm.
For that injury, you did have an X-ray, and they did go over that X-ray with you and let you know that there was no fracture or dislocation.
There was no fracture, that's what she told me. I didn't think it was a fracture. No.
Or dislocation of your shoulder or arm.
No, there's just pain.
And they also went over your chest X-ray results with you to let you know that your chest X-ray appeared clear.
Yes.
Okay. You ultimately received the Band-Aid and Neosporin for the cut on your elbow?
Yes, I got that on, I think it was Saturday. When did I get that? On Monday?
Okay, so within a day or two of the cut occurring?
Yes.
And you said that if you are given a bond, you will reside in Tallahassee, you will follow court orders, but when you were afraid of being arrested right after Charlie Adelson's trial, isn't it true that you hoped that you could get to the airport before you were arrested?
I wasn't afraid of being arrested.
What were you trying to get to the airport in time for? In that jail
My
cell?
husband and I were literally shocked and traumatized at what had happened to Charlie. And he said, we need to just get some peace. We need to catch our breath. We're going to go away somewhere. And I thought it was a good idea because I couldn't think straight. I really couldn't think straight. I was so upset, and so was he. And it was his idea. He said, sweetheart, let's go, just get away. We're going to just get away somewhere so we can have some time to think.
Okay, so your testimony is that you weren't trying to go to Vietnam because you wouldn't be able to be extradited from there.
So my husband actually had said, we've been to Vietnam before with friends. We were on vacation, and it really was like a place of peace. And so he said, if we go to a non-extradition country, then if the law enforcement decided that they wanted to arrest you or me, whatever, both, he said, we won't be sitting in a foreign prison waiting months to go back. We can buy a ticket and we can go home. And my understanding was that I could go home and I could turn myself in if that's what they wanted.
Okay, but you were hoping to make it out of America in time before you were arrested, right?
I wanted to get away. He wanted to get away. That's what we wanted to do. And it wasn't, we spoke to our attorneys. I asked them. They said there's no pending. We purposely called them to make sure it was legal to do it. And they said there's no, what were their words? There's no pending charges and there's no warrants. So you want to go, go. And so I thought you ask your attorneys and they tell you that. I'm going.
But Dan did tell you, as you say in the jail call, that knowing what they're thinking up there, I don't know if you'll make it out in time. I really don't. But that he said you might, or you might get to the airport and they'll stop you. It could happen.
That's what he said.
Right. So you went to the airport knowing that it could happen. They could stop you at the airport. You could end up being arrested.
Yeah, that's what Dan said.
Right. And when you were looking at places to go those couple of days after Charlie Adelson's trial, you were specifically looking, though, for countries that did not have extradition with the U.S.
For the reason I just told you.
Right. And the reason that you're saying that you were looking for countries with no extradition was so that you could get back faster in order to be arrested in the U.S.?
No, that's not what I said. It's because, I don't know, maybe we watch too much TV or too many movies, but I've seen movies where people are stuck in like third world prisons and waiting and waiting and waiting. And my feeling was, this is not what we want to happen. If the state says they want us to come back, we'll buy a ticket, we'll come back on our own terms. We don't have to be sitting in a jail somewhere. We'll come back home and turn ourselves in.
Couldn't you have done that no matter what country you went to?
No.
No? You
No.
couldn't have found out that you had a warrant for your arrest and come back if there was an extradition
Well,
policy?
not if they would, I'm not in law enforcement, but it appears that they would notify law enforcement in that country, and then they could hold you in a jail for God knows how long. And I didn't want that to happen. So he said, well, that's why we'll do it this way, honey. That way, if they do notify us, so we get a phone call from our attorney or from law enforcement, then we'll buy a ticket, we'll go home.
Okay.
And so it would have been on our terms. That was the point. That was the reason that he thought that was a good idea.
And your
Before you
testimony?
continue, Ms. Dugan, we are over time. If you please can get to your most pertinent questions.
Yes, sir. I guess your testimony ultimately, though, is that you were not trying to go to a country with no extradition because you were trying to avoid being held accountable for this charge. That's your testimony?
Being held, I didn't do this.
Okay.
Being held accountable for this is not what happened.
Being arrested for this case.
Being arrested,
Right. That was not what you were trying to avoid by trying to go to a non-extradition country.
we were trying to get our heads on straight and just breathe.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Any redirect examination for Mrs. Adelson?
Just one question, Judge.
You may proceed.
The testimony was you were offered an X-ray. You were never offered an MRI for your shoulder, were you?
No.
Thank you.
You may step down, Mrs. Adelson.
All right, Michael, we heard Donna saying there that I didn't do this.
Yeah, well, it's going to come down to the credibility.
Yeah.
Will the judge believe her story?
Yeah.